Do you want to add epic skill challenges to your game that allow you to collaborate with your players? Do you want to play an adventure module where text is presented as a full-blown comic book? Do you want to expand your options for the Scro and Spelljammer and beyond? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, we've got the books to answer them for you. So stay tuned. It's all in the latest episode of D&D New Releases. Let's get started. Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. First, we have Assault on Castle Ravenloft, a prequel adventure for Curse of Strahd. It's by Grimm Press, $2.95 for 17 pages. It's a 3-act adventure where you march on Castle Ravenloft and confront Strahd von Zarovich. It's a perfect one-shot. You can run it right before Curse of Strahd to introduce the module's major characters to your players. It's got expanded lore on events in Barovia. Let your players learn about the Order of the Silver Dragon's fate in an adventure instead of monologuing. You can also enjoy the battle maps for each act that are included here. So it's got a really nice layout, lots of artwork, and those battle maps, which you can use for VTT or just for reference, either way. So here you got the adventure summary, the characters, and it looks like it's 3 acts with a prologue and epilogue. And I like the moody art. You've got this sort of carriage going across this dark bridge, maybe to Castle Ravenloft. It says, in this flashback adventure, the players will create chivalrous knights as lieutenants of Vladimir Horngard. They shall march on Castle Ravenloft to end the Devil Strahd, only to fail against his new and deathly powers. Ultimately, they will learn the Angrynost was himself a silver dragon, that he was butchered by Strahd, and that his skull now languishes in the bowels of Castle Ravenloft. And it goes through like a summary of each of the 3 acts, and then some of the locations. So that's helpful to get to know. And then you've got some of the people, your dramatis personae. So Sir Godfrey Gwillem, Sir Leonid Kruskin, all of those. And it says the players and their knights. It says the players assume the roles of newly minted officers of the Order of the Silver Dragon. The Order of the Silver Dragon was comprised almost entirely of humans. However, having defended Dusk Elf refugees, it's likely that the Order's ranks included some elves. Dusk elves are treated as wood elves. Additionally, given Lord Agranost's secret identity as a silver dragon, there is an ample opportunity for a player character to play a silver dragonborn, being the heir or descendant of Argynvost. I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure, throughout. In which case, they might deserve to know Argynvost's secret. So yeah, you could play with that. It sounds like you could have, a mix of humans, dusk elves, and dragonborn in the party. And it gives you some knowledge, things that they would know as part of Veterans of the Order. They've got a prologue here, which is pretty cool. Lots of details on the location and little nightly mementos. So it says a bright or bloodstained scarf knitted by a distant lover, a tattered banner stolen from the corpse of one of the Devilstrah's lieutenants, a cloak of griffin down, a pendant of a silver dragon that is always cool to the touch, the same gothic trinket that a player might roll for in Curse of Strahd. So yeah, a lot of cool options there for that. But it says, you stand at the brink of annihilation as Knights of the Order of the Silver Dragon. It is your sworn duty to defend the innocent from the deprivations of the wicked, from the deprivations of the Devil Strahd von Zarovich, first of his name, the warmonger, the scourge of these lands. It is behind the Order's shield that the many victims of his wars shelter. It is under the Order's banner that this valley still stands free, and is by the Order's fist the Devil Strahd shall soon face justice. So yeah, really fun. Get to play as knights, get to kind of take on Strahd briefly, and then you can move on to the full Curse of Strahd adventure. But it's cool to do like a flashback prologue and kind of get to know some of the characters. Or maybe you've already played Curse of Strahd and you just want to go back and do something related to it and have some sort of connection to it, but you don't want to go back through the whole Curse of Strahd. So maybe you just play this flashback adventure just to have like another perspective on it. So really cool stuff. It's called Assault on Castle Ravenloft. It's in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have the City Lost to Dream, an adventure for 1st to 3rd level characters for 5th edition from Brave Robin Art. It's $3.50 for 45 pages. Authors Sarah Morris and Leon Baralero. It says it can take the characters from 1st to 3rd level and can be completed in about 3 to 4 sessions or quicker depending on your session length. And it's easy to drop into your own world or campaign. It says the characters are hired by an elderly dwarf to find his missing son, who was last seen escorting a caravan of supplies through the nearby woods. The characters find an apparently abandoned campsite, discovering empty sleeping bags and an odd salt-like smell in the warm, dry air. They find a small tear in reality, through which floats a ruined city of the ancient world, Thonis, the jewel of the lost empire. There, the characters encounter unusual NPCs, such as a broken statue with a bad memory, and the shade of a scholar, who may have started this whole thing off, but we won't get into that now. The characters discover what happened to the city, scale a shattered wizard's tower, and stop a powerful mage's dread creation from escaping out into the material plane, and hopefully saving the dwarf from a terrible fate in the process. So you get the PDF, creature tokens, maps suitable for VTT, handouts, as well as printer-friendly versions. So that's cool. So let's look inside. It's the art in here is just really cool. I love the art in this. I was looking through it previously, and it's just really fun. And I also like the layout. I think it's really easy to read. So they're giving you a hook to get the characters involved, but then they give you an alternate one, which is nice. You got travel encounters table, even some little sort of notes that are typed out, which is really cool with some fun artwork. I mean, it just looks so put together here. I love that. So let's go back up and read a little bit for you. It says, this chapter provides guidance for hooking your characters into the adventure and getting them to the tear in reality that leads them to Thonis. It says, find me, son. In this hook, a dwarven baker named Cheery asks the party to find his missing son. This hook provides a small town as a starting point for this adventure, but you can place Cheery's bakery in any town your characters would travel to. And it says, on a vast open moorland weaves a rocky and somewhat well-traveled road, which the locals call Wheelbreak Road. On a clear day, the characters can see flat moorland for miles and the occasional broken wheel by the side of the road. After a day's travel on the road, characters come upon the town of Fernmoor. Another day's travel brings them to the Twisting Woods, named for how easy it is to get turned around in the trees and large ferns that grow there. So interesting. I like the names of these places: the Twisting Woods, the Fernmoor, the Wheelbreak Road. Those are really cool. And it's just a town of 200 people, so that could be really cool to populate as you play this adventure. It says, Cheery's request. During a short stay at the Fern Inn, the characters are petitioned by Cheery Buckron. Cheery says his son is missing, and he is anxious for news. While Cheery is naturally very jolly, he is worried for his son and not sleeping well, making him more sullen in disposition. Cheery might say some of the following lines if the players ask for more information. So, Me son Jolly, he worked in the bakery with me till he came to me on his 60th and told me he wanted to be an adventurer. I had hoped to leave the bakery to Jolly, but I want him to be happy. I thought this would be an easy job. I got him this job with a friend of mine, a good friend named Isak Ironbread, who runs food through the woods for local small businesses such as myself. The cart had nothing much of value, just some food and textiles. I don't know what voice I'm doing, but these are fun little phrases to have him say. And there's a bunch of them here, which is really cool. Sometimes you run out of stuff to say if you're DMing. So having a list of at least, it looks like 7 of them is awesome. And it says you travel to the tear. It says you don't need to play through every moment of travel if your party doesn't want to. Run 1 or 2 encounters and maybe give your players a chance to talk about what their characters are doing while they walk deeper into the heart of the woods. It says the journey through the woods takes 3 or 4 days of travel. The path is uneven and overgrown due to lack of use. The earth still holds on to winter's chill, the air cold, and the woods themselves dark and eerily quiet. No bird song or deer's cry can be heard. And then it says things you can, so there's scared goats and hungry kobolds, sturdy cottage, etc. And these notes, like I said, are really cool. So yeah, you can hand these out. And they're so easy to read. Sometimes with these handwritten notes in some of these books, I mean, they pick the worst fonts. These fonts are really, I think, perfect because you can read them, but you still feel like somebody wrote it down. It's striking that balance between horrible font that's unreadable and something that looks handwritten without being too fake, right? Because it is, after all, a font. So I think they did that well here. So I love it. I think it could be really fun. I like the characters, locations, the names of the places, and of course the art is gorgeous. So I think you got to check it out. It's under City Lost to Dream in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have The Court of the Unseelie from Critical Crafting. It's $9.99 for 84 pages. Authors Dylan Olney, Cameron DeFord, and of course Critical Crafting. And it says you get a 24-page adventure for parties of 7th to 8th level, 17 stat blocks, and a new monster template, 10 new items with printable item cards, 6 new spells with printable spell cards, 7 battle maps, 1 new player body graft, 4 feats, and 2 deficiencies, as well as 1 new full player class with 3 subclasses called the Tether, a spirit-led melee class centered around leading your allies into battle and affecting the battlefield as you develop a student and pupil bond with your ardent spirit. That sounds like it could be a fun class. And then you get 2 new player races, the Fungal Folk Codicep and the Badgerkin Mustel. So yeah, those also sound really cool. And the artwork, you can't really zoom in on the cover too much, so I wanted to show it in the PDF. I mean, it's really, truly gorgeous. All the Critical Crafting books have really beautiful artwork and layouts as well. So yeah, I mean, look at that. Fun sort of mushroom folk character. And it says the Court of the Unseelie, and it gives you the background. It says an Unseelie queen named Morgana Leclerc has moved into the Tanglewood, an ancient forested region on the outskirts of the Rydrior Expanse. The queen has been summoned to the region after the death of Apuka at the hands of Ruth the Rebel, a hot-headed Mustel homesteader. Shortly after her arrival, the queen decreed the Root be slain for his crime, and a Nixie under her command drowned the young Mustel in a stream near the Mustel's family's small homestead, leaving behind one of the large black feathers of the Unseelie queen, a warning sign well known to those in the regions populated by Fae. Morgana has been amassing more and more dark Fae to her court, a natural lair among ancient standing stones within the Tanglewood, and more of the goodly Fae native to the region have fallen under her magical influence, serving as her subjects. Morgana has decreed the Tanglewood, the realm of the Fae, her minions attacking anyone that dare enter her wooded dominion. So, interesting sort of setup. I like this sort of Unseelie queen Morgana that you're going to have to deal with, and this leaving behind of the feather as a calling card. And then it gives you a bunch of ways the characters can get involved. There's like 4 different ways, which is always nice. And then you can see right away one of those really awesome maps in here. I'm just going to scroll a little bit so you can see a little bit more before I read more. But yeah, lots of maps in here, lots of artwork. And you can see here, it says he has the response to the following various questions. So they're listing questions that you might ask of some of the characters and then what those answers are. So that's really cool. So let me go back up here and read a little bit about some of these places. So Dirt's homestead, exterior. Walking beneath clear skies through thick grasses, you come upon a small shack. It is clear the shack is built as a temporary shelter and will not fare well during the winter months. A small trail of smoke leads up from the chimney, and a few makeshift fences with what appear to be mostly untamed goats are constructed around the home. A wagon, small enough for a single person to pull to the side, sits near the home. So yeah, that makes sense. And when you look at this map, it looks pretty much like what was described there. So that works perfectly. Then they've got some interior stuff, and there's a voice that calls, barks from within the house. It's open when they try to knock on it. And so you've got all this. I mean, look at all these blocks of information. So the Nixie can request some or all of the following in exchange for information. So many call outs that I think are really going to help the player figure out what to do. But let's look at some of these questions. So it says, Essie speaks in rhyme and riddles as often as possible, rarely giving a straight answer to anything. So he has the following answers to various questions. So it says, one of the questions is, what does he know about Root? Ah, a young lad full of malice and hate made one of my kind so very late. And it says, where is the Unseelie queen? Deep in the tanglewood she makes her lair. I know of one to help you there. If you help me, you help him too. It is the noblest thing to do. So who is the Unseelie queen? She's called Morgana, or so I'm told, and corrupts all creatures within these woods of old. Kindly Puka turned to hate, fairies spinning darker fates. You probably hear my cat Luna here. She's had a rough morning, so she's telling me all about it. So I don't have Faye in my house at the moment. Anyway, this is fun stuff. It is really cool. I like the little rhymes and the riddles there that are coming out from this, and the beautiful maps. I mean, Critical Crafting is really putting out some good books, and this is just one of many books they put out this week. And you know, we just cover one from each publisher. So I hope you click on the Critical Crafting link here at some point and check on their other titles as well. But in the meantime, if you want to get to this page, just look in the video description links for Court of the Unseelie, give it a click, and check it out. Next, we have Heroes of Green Hollow by Matthew Charles and Ryan Sargent. It's $24.99 for 203 pages, and it's a 5th edition adventure that centers on an idealistic figure named Lerdalis and the community that has come to treasure him in his twilight years. They seek the help of a band of adventurers to dissuade mysterious raiders scouting the village. However, everyone finds themselves in over their heads when these raiders turn out to be only a small part of an army of well-trained mercenaries. Players must recruit allies, heal local wounds, and confront the looming threat, all while they reckon with the brutality that lurks inside and out. So really cool sounding adventure. I like the artwork here. You've got a firework display happening for some of the villagers, it looks like. It says it's designed for parties levels 3 to 5, 200 pages long, features over 17 original full-color painterly illustrations and 11 custom full-color maps. Includes a range of specialized character backgrounds and story hooks to help the DM integrate the parties deeper into the story, tools and tips to support new DMs running their first campaign. And lots of praise from other talented creators out there. So you should read that as well if you come to this page. But I wanted to read a little of the introduction because I think they took a really interesting approach to this adventure. It says, most tabletop role-playing campaigns are centered around a villain. The evils they have wrought upon the world and their inevitable bloody end. It makes sense, of course. A great villain is an easy source of conflict, and killing them is a great source of excitement. But for this book, we were interested in seeing if we could do something more uncommon. That is so true. I mean, many adventures are just sort of filled with tropes or doing the same kind of thing. So I like that they're trying something different. It says, our inspiration came from two somewhat unlikely places. The first is Fred Rogers. There are a thousand compelling, genuine stories from those who encountered Fred or his messages and transformed their life from inside out. A singular person capable of creating so much good is incredibly rare, but they do exist, and they are as fascinating a figure as any warlord or tycoon. We wanted to bring the heart of Fred Rogers into the cutthroat world of Dungeons and Dragons. Our second inspiration was a bit headier. It was the omnipresent nature of violence in the world. Violence can be unnatural, horrific, and traumatic. Violence can be entertaining, seductive, and cathartic. Violence can be ingrained like in a lion. Violence can be taught as to a child. Violence can be warriors with weapons, and it can be social systems we put in place. Violence can be the means, and violence can be the ends. So we were inspired not by the question of whether violence is or when it is right or wrong, but its undeniable presence, that it is always there, a specter looming in the background. Our question was, under the shadow of that specter, what would players choose to do? And that's such a good question, because it is omnipresent in a lot of these games, because danger's all around, right? And so it talks about that as inspiration. So the juxtaposition of sort of a Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers type character with violence, and how do those, omnipresent violence, how do those two things come together? And it's so true. I mean, my parents, when I introduced them to the Game of Thrones series, I had suggested it to them to watch, and I told them about it, and they said, oh, that's going to be a lot of violence. I don't know that we want to watch it. And I said, you have to keep in mind the setting, right? And that violence that you see in Game of Thrones is what it was like to live in this setting for these characters, right? Just like in the Middle Ages and the medieval times here on Earth, it was like that. And even today, there's a lot of violence, unfortunately, that goes on. It's different. It's different than the violence that you see in something like Game of Thrones. But still, the point is, it's just part of it. And in some cases, in some stories. And so once we kind of had that conversation, they did watch it and they did like it. So it worked out. But anyway, this made me think of that, about how violence and our point of view on it can shift. So lots of stuff going on in this book. I mean, 203 pages. I mean, that's so cool. But they've got these color-coded sidebars. So red is combat tips, green is DM tips and detours, blue are dialogue or description, yellow is side quest tips, and orange sidebars are turning points. Those are sections that help guide you through the major choices that your players must make and the consequences those choices bear. So you get the story synopsis, but let's read a little bit about 𝘎𝙤𝙤. It says, before he was 𝘎𝙤𝙤, 𝘎𝙤𝙗 was a former major figure in the Phoenix Empire. Coming from a humble family of coopers, he quickly rose through the ranks of the Maester's Academy, becoming a studied wizard and a military strategist. His ascent was helped by his close friendship with one of the Empire's elites. However, 𝘎𝙤's rising star fell when he joined his royal friend in a conflict with the heir to the throne. A massacre erupted, and rightly or wrongly, 𝘎𝙤 was blamed for the deaths of countless nobles. 𝘎𝙤 became a pariah and spent many years on the run as a fugitive, never to see his friends or family again. Having lost everything, 𝘎𝙤 desperately searched for meaning. He found it in helping others and a lifestyle that rejected the imperialism and violence that shaped his early life. In time, he came to the village of Green Hollow. There, he helped the people, and in turn, the people came to trust in his wisdom. They began to call him 𝘎𝙤𝙤, a borrowed word from the local stoneflower tribes that means graybeard, a common name for their grandfathers. 𝘎𝙤𝙤's wish is to create a better world than the one that made him, one where benevolence, compassion, and generosity are the spirit of the land, not violence and cruelty. He believes that Green Hollow could be the forefront of a culture rooted in those beliefs. 𝘎𝙤𝙤 knows the crows are a terrifying threat. However, he believes that if a village can make it through this crisis without losing all that has made them good, it could be the start of a true change for the better. So it's cool that you have this sort of leader that is ingrained in the populace and that they really respect him and that he has a different take on it. And he's got sort of a glass half full mindset about the situation they're in. And he says he knows they're a terrifying threat, but he believes that the village can make it through and they don't have to sacrifice who they are and that it can be a change for the better. So that's a really interesting perspective and dilemma, and it's probably going to get complicated. I mean, knowing how adventures go, right? And so it's going to be really interesting, I think, if you're running this, to see how the players respond to that. Do they believe 𝘎𝙤? Do some of the party believe 𝘎𝙤? Others are doubtful. And then how does it all work out as they deal with these mercenaries? So I think this is a lot of fun. I like all the artwork. It's clearly custom artwork for this, because you're seeing the characters throughout the images. 𝘎𝙤's even on the cover here. It looks like maybe yeah, I think that's 𝘎𝙤. And so they've really put a lot of time and energy into this, and created some really nice custom artwork to bring this story to life. So I hope you check it out and have some fun and put this dilemma in front of your players. I think it'll be really fun and interesting for them to experience. It's all under Heroes of Green Hollow in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Mass of Power for 5th edition from Axo Stories, $25 for 132 pages. Authors Alasdair Guzman, Jaime Reyes Mondragon, and Sergio Ake. It says you'll find rules for turning defeated creatures into masks that grant their wearers some of their abilities. Includes pre-generated masks, 12 new archetypes, new legendary creatures alongside their masks, as well as an adventure where you will face villains that use masks for their advantage, and where you'll face otherworldly, strange horrors. So this is really cool. I mean, taking creatures, turning them into things, we've seen that in other books, but it's an interesting take to have them turn into masks. So I like that. And it's cool that you're getting some subclasses along with that, and then even a new creature alongside the mask that creature would create if, once it's defeated. So you've got sort of the overview of how the masks work. Then you get into your character options. It looks like Path of the Burster for the Barbarian, College of the Detached for the Bard, Oath of the Shrouded for the Paladin, Masked Hunter for the Ranger, Faceless for the Rogue, and Vizard for the Wizard. So some fun sounding subclasses. And then you've got masks as familiars, so how to create mask familiar. I love when they give you different takes on the concept. So the general concept is like an item, magic item kind of, and then here's another option. You can do it as a familiar. So I love that. And then how to create them, and the rarity, and choosing the boons for the mask. So again, always love that. You hear me talk about that all the time. Anytime a book gives you something new, but then teaches you how to make more of it, that's golden. That's top notch. So here's some of the different boons. So you get aberration, materials, boons, influences, beast, same sort of structure all the way through. And then just a lot of other stuff. You've got the adventure, and then a bestiary at the end with the Astromax, and variations on it, and some other characters like a Pumpkin King, the Worm Beneath the Mountain. And then you've got legendary masks, a bunch of those, like a vampire mask, a unicorn mask, Phoenix mask, Hydra mask. I mean, a lot of the well-known masks, so that's cool. So I just want to scroll real quick so you can see some of the nice layout, very easy to read, some fun artwork in here. We've got some of the subclasses right off the bat. So you got a Concealed Visions domain, which is cool, and that Barbarian Parmail Path that we talked about. But let's read a little bit about these Masks of Power. Masks are powerful objects that condense the spirit powers and knowledge of slain creatures within them. Anyone wearing one of these masks gains access to the abilities they contain, but also exposes themselves to being influenced by the creature from which they were created. When a Mask of Power is created, a sliver of creature's will is transferred to the mask. As you wear it, you gain some physical traits of the creature, and their impulses and thoughts begin to seep into your mind as you use their power. So that's interesting. So it's not just getting some of the abilities, but you also, it's kind of got their creature's will in it, and it says your impulses and thoughts you're getting impulses and thoughts basically from them into your mind. So role playing that could be really cool. It says any creature can be transformed into a mask upon death by following the proper steps. The entity trapped inside a mask is a copy of the original creature used to create it, and they will constantly try to influence the wearer. Some creatures voluntarily become masks after dying so that others can harness their powers and knowledge. There is an order of paladins notorious for doing this. All its high-ranking members become masks in order to guide and lend their abilities to the younger generations. So masks are magical items that require attunement. It says boons are the powers the mask gives you. When you create a mask, you choose the boons it will have. The boons you can choose from depend on the type of creature you're using to create the mask. So as we talked about in the table of contents, they're separated by creature type. And it says introducing masks in your game. If you have an ongoing campaign, here are some ideas on how to introduce them. It says a joyful vendor carrying masks of power appears in town. The characters find a mask of power as treasure in a dungeon or receive one as a reward. Or the characters meet a red-headed druid who teaches them how to craft and use masks of power. So yeah, those are some good options. I mean, there's so many ways you could drop these in, but I just love how comprehensive this book is. I mean, it's 132 pages about this new thing. It's got an adventure involving it. It's got archetypes. It's got masks and how to create them and how to make them as familiars. So pretty comprehensive. Sometimes you get a book that's about something new and it's just the new thing. No instructions on how to create it. Nothing else with it. This is really surrounded by a bunch of great supporting material. So check it out. It's under Masks of Power in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Miniature Giant Space Hamster Hunt, an adventure told as a comic book by Brian McLaughlin, and it is $10 for 27 pages. It says legendary hero Minsk is called away to punch evil in its skeleton, so he passes his easier, more fun quest on to your players. Find another miniature giant space hamster to keep his boo company. It says Ashley Starluck has a menagerie of unusual pets like a gelatinous cube and a snowy owlbear. Players use Minska's invite to a party at her home where they encounter a strange assortment of people, including trouble-causing neighbors, a broadsheet gossip reporter, and a fey pop star. Your heroes can sneak, gamble, and or talk their way to finding a possible fuzzy companion for Minsk. The adventure continues into a forest full of bizarre chaos magic, which can be played for laugh or terror, and a wild wizard's tower as well. So rather than walls of text, though, the adventure is told in an easy-on-the-eyes graphic novel format. No box text to read out. You can look and describe the scene yourself in your own words or share the art with your players. As a low-level adventure, it is perfect for first-time DMs and young players like those in D&D clubs. So really, really cool. I think this is the kind of innovation we need, is people trying different things, different ways of bringing this game to new players. I mean, not everybody responds to the same kind of thing. Reading can be one way people engage. Some people like to look at pictures, right? So having all kinds of methods to get people into Dungeons and Dragons is important. And the artwork here is going to be really fun. We're going to look at it in just a second. But I just want to say, we need more innovation like that to bring people in and to just give people options to mix it up. I mean, maybe you have been playing for a long time and you just want to try something different, and so this is also going to give you that, because this is going to be a different experience. You can see already right off the back, the introduction is a comic book, and I love that it's really different. I mean, it's going to take a second to adjust, but I think once you get used to it, you're going to go, wow, I really like this. We need more adventures like this. So I'm going to read a little bit of the comic and you can follow along here, and that way you can kind of see how it feels. I think it works perfectly. I mean, a lot of it is just the same as it would be with like a read aloud. You can read the text, you can show the picture, however you want to do it. And you have a lot more pictures you can show with this too. It says, you are at the Friendly Arms Inn, a fortified place for travelers along the Sword Coast. One rainy spring morning, you are met by one of the mightiest heroes of Toril. He gathers you together if you're not already in a group. It says, great heroes, I, Minsk, Puncher of Evil, need your aid. This is my miniature giant space hamster, Boo. Say hello, Boo. For as long as a wizard's beard, we have been looking for another of his kind. Not long ago, we heard that hunter and gambler Ashley Starluck has one of her menagerie of unusual animals. We were to rescue the furball tomorrow night, but we have received a call from an old friend and we cannot refuse. An undead wizard threatens the whole realm, and I must break the bones of this skeleton like uncooked spaghetti. Take these helpful items and find Boo's long-lost cousin at the gala. Did I mention there was a gala? So you can see you get to play as Minsk, right? You get to, as DM, you get to sort of animate and become the Hamster and Minsk and some of these famous characters. And of course, you can show all these really adorable images created by Brian with your players. And I mean, I'm just going to scroll through so you can see some of the things. We're going to come back and read some more, but I mean, just look at how many different characters are going to meet, all the different images and things that they're going to encounter. I mean, you get to see the whole book here in the preview as well, so you can really see how all of it looks. Like, here's a displacer beast in a cage and some sort of topiaries out front of this location. I mean, this is just stunning, the artwork. I love every page of this. And here, I mean, even with the stat block, it looks cool the way it's done with a little shield icon and a little cross icon. And then tables, there's tables in here. So you're going to have what you need. I mean, I think when you would first read this description, there would be concern, well, you know, how am I going to find my stat blocks, or how am I going to find my tables? They're in here. And, you know, Brian has done a really good job of integrating them into a comic book, because, I mean, you could just sit here and read this. You don't even have to play it out. I think you should, because, I mean, look at these maps. I mean, that's so cool with this tower and all these little icons, this sort of hamburger thing. Yeah, so I love it. I mean, look at that. Brian is really talented. I'm a big fan of writer artists. I wish I could. I can mess around in Photoshop. I can doodle, but I can't do anything like this. And I always am in awe of people that can. So it says the next section is just for DMs again. Whether or not you run a session 0, it can help you to know why your PCs are adventuring together. If they don't already have a connection, have the players decide or roll on the following table. So it gives you 12 options, including hired to guard caravan to this inn, now out of work, tied for first place in a contest at the Harvest Festival. They survived a natural disaster together. So yeah, all of these work with the story. And you could even reuse some of these in other adventures as reasons to get together. You could just take one even and say, hey, does this work? Or take a couple. And so it says the bag Minsk gives them contains the following items. So you get a potion of invisibility, a potion of animal friendship, a potion of healing, a bag of ball bearings, stinky cheese, an invitation to the gala for Minsk and friends, and one wig. So that's fun. And then you got a little map here. I mean, they're just really creative. So here it says there are some important NPCs of the party. Most use the commoner stat block. Feel free to invent more. So let's have them talk to Mistress Starluck. Ashley's naive cousin looks after her pets when she's away. She loves music and is a big fan of Dawn. One time I had to get a bunch of Starburrs out of the snowballs for her. It was not fun, she says. So you can have a little image there, and this is Dawn is a satyr and a fae pop singer, famous for her magical stage shows. They are sick of talking about themselves. Tell me about the wildest thing you've ever done. And you can see she's sort of got a cool outfit on, or they've got a cool outfit on, and they're holding a little goblet. And yeah, I mean, just so many different characters, and like you can show the images to your players. It says Flappy is a nosy flying snake who delivers long-distance messages for Ashley. She has no idea that the Zhentarim are famous for doing the same, or that Flappy makes her look suspicious. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, you could work that in, because this is tied into the Forgotten Realms a little bit, which is cool. So fun stuff. Again, just looking at it, I mean, you can look at this whole thing here in the preview, really enjoy it, make sure you're comfortable with it, but I think it's just fun to read and have fun with. So check it out. It's under Miniature Giant Space Hamster Hunt in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have the Sard Palace of Jharoda, a Tayyib Empire adventure for journeys through the Radiant Citadel. It's by David Keir. It's $5.95 for 25 pages. It says the Concord Jewel from the Radiant Citadel has returned at last to 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤, again connecting the Tayyib Empire to the other concordant civilizations after a 250-year absence. But not all 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤 are happy about its return, especially in the wake of the recent civil war from which they are trying to recover. Undead still plague the land, rubble fills many cities, and many of the fields of the heartland are still soaked with blood. So it's an adventure for 4 to 6, 8 to 10th level characters that takes place in the city of Jharoda in the south of the Tayyib Empire. The challenges that the characters must face at the temple and at the Sard Palace, once an outpost trade with and travel to the Radiant Citadel, will lead them deeper into the underlying troubles that are plaguing all the lands of 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙠𝙨 and hindering the Tayyib Empire from returning to its glory. So you get the adventure itself with 2 tasks focused on daring the 𝙁𝙗𝙪 temple to receive the blessing of the goddess 𝙁𝙗𝙪, and clearing the Sard Palace of the creatures that have been taken up residence there during its period of abandonment. You get 4 major NPCs, story threads that tie into the Radiant Citadel and other concordant civilizations, 2 maps, descriptions of 10 key sites, and hooks and NPCs and all sorts of stuff. So that's cool. So it shows you like the key sites there, all the different places, because you're going to have to explore quite a few of those to handle the tasks at hand. So you've got the whole empire mapped out here with a lot of background. I like how much background there is. There's a lot of pronunciation, which I need. I've been butchering all these names this whole session, but I'm known for that, I guess. And then you've got this map of Jharoda and key sites. And then there's even a random encounters table. So looking at that, it's a D100. So the first one is one of the character spots in the road, an ornate brooch of dwarven design. And then 96 to 100, 2 arguing merchants ask the party to select the best of their kofta, which is meatballs. So they have a taste test happening. That's cool. And it says a wizened man in a turban whispers closely with a woman in a leather apron. A young woman in ragged clothing begs for spare coppers. She is a were-rat in her humanoid form. So yeah, fun encounters there. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in these temples. So we'll just read some of the intro here. So it says, Bhima Sathanam. At any of the sites in Jharoda that the characters inquire about Warg, they will be instructed to present themselves at the main gate of the Sathanam Palace. If they do so, they will be escorted into a chamber of the fort and told to wait. Read the following to the party. After a moment, large double doors are opened by 2 heavily armed soldiers wearing curved, tall war blades. They are followed by a small group of administrators and advisors, amongst whom are likely to be beings of magical prowess. A tall young man with thick black beard and mustache enters, dressed regally in blue and silver. He is unarmed but confident, and he measures the party with his eyes. Imperiously, he says, "If you dare, and if you are capable and worthy, I have a task for you." So yeah, that could be a fun. It says the man is Bhima Sathanam Suba. I can't with these names. It's too hard. I don't have the pronunciation guide here. Anyway, he's grandson, cousin, and brother of some people, and he resents that the returned Sard Concord Jewel has chosen Quarrengroth as its landing site instead of using the Sard Palace in Jharoda. He fears that this will further diminish the city and give undue privilege to Quarrengarb. So a lot going on. I love that people are fleshing out the stuff that's in Radiant Citadel, because obviously there's not unlimited pages for that book, so having others kind of help build upon it is really, really cool, to make people have even more opportunities for adventure in the cool places introduced in that book. So check it out. It's under Sard Palace of Jharoda in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have the Song of the Last Heroes, Part 7, A Message from Beyond These Shores. It's from Rodarin Press, $3.95 for 22 pages. And, they've had 7 adventures in this series, which is really cool. It says, as Kyriakos recovers from the dramatic attack by the Cyclops Arantes, the king urges the great festival known as Poseidonia to proceed in order to regain control of the people's morale. Our heroes enjoy well-deserved downtime and restful activities and are consecrated as the champions of the land. Unbeknownst to them, however, they are soon to be the target of a revenge plot, which has been orchestrated to eliminate the last loose thread on an old shady agreement our party has messed up with. So it's for 4th level gaming groups, detailing locations, descriptions, magic items, handouts, and creatures that can be used on the bittersweet finality finality, bittersweet finale of the Songs Book 1. I'm just pronouncing things terribly today. I apologize. But you can see there's also a bundle down here to get the episodes 4 through 7. So if you want to get all of those, you can. And the book, I don't know if I mentioned, is $3.95. So that's a really good price to get a full adventure. And inside, it's got a really cool, like, Greco-Roman style to the border, and some really fun artwork. And I love that they're using some, like, classic pieces of art, because this is a really cool looking piece. And you know, you just don't get enough sort of ancient adventures, you know, especially for Theros and things like that. It's like that book was released so long ago. You just don't get enough of those anymore. So it's nice to have people still developing things that kind of deal with that part of our history in Dungeons and Dragons, so that we can explore that. We can continue those adventures. Maybe we have adventures we started back when Theros came out that we're still trying to finish, and we need more content. So it's cool to have a series like this. But it says, after the Poseidonia ends, there should be a time for respite for our heroes. Destiny, however, has planned something different for the party. As they sleep, they will suffer an assassination attempt from Horn agents infiltrating the palace. This will shake the Metaxas household and the government officials, and is sure to put things in motion. The characters' previous choices might make a difference as they fight, almost defenseless for their lives. The following chapter, although brief, has information to aid you in running this dramatic encounter that could very well be fatal if, for example, the characters are slow to act. So it says, as the characters go to sleep in their chambers in the Palace of the Horns, plan for revenge, or I read that all wrong. As the characters go to sleep in their chambers in the palace, the Horns' plan for revenge is set in motion. The Oversea Crime Syndicate plans to remove the only living proof of their involvement in Icaria, as far as they know, and to enact a retribution strike for the elimination of their allies in the island, the Cloaked Moons. You can create mini scenes and scenarios that foreshadow the Horn's plan, but beware not to lay it too thick and spook the characters early. The Horn is composed of professionals, and although they will probably fall to the party's abilities, they should have an easy time getting to the party's chambers. And it says, characters shouldn't have a difficulty getting from one chamber to another, easily banding together to strengthen their chances. The chaos of fighting, almost completely unprepared, is very unnerving in this hard encounter, and a few characters are likely to fall unconscious if a healer is not immediately available. And so you've got this Horn Cutthroat, who's a CR2. And it says, assassins will flee if half of them are defeated, or if the palace's alarm is sounded. They will flee through the corridors or climb to the rooftop through the balconies, whatever is closest. You can run a chase sequence if the characters desire. Yeah, so that could be fun. And it says, as the characters defeat the assassins and the palace is put into a state of emergency, they will surely investigate the corpses left behind. A few of them will have a tattoo that the characters who speak Thieves' Cant can notice is the symbol of the Horn. One of them, however, has one that the characters can clearly notice is the symbol of the Cloaked Moons. So that's a clue. And you've got all the different things they have. They have lockpicks, poison, daggers, thieves' tools, all that stuff. It says, after the battle itself and perhaps the chase is finished, the characters find themselves in a chaotic palace of the Red Gate. Guards are running around to guarantee there are no more invaders hidden. Escorts take important figures to safe rooms. The characters have some time to reconvene and talk about what happened, heal their wounds, and assess the situation in private investigation. So, yeah, it could be fun to have them be in this palace. You know, you think you're safe sleeping in a palace, right? And then there's some sort of nighttime strike. So, fun stuff. And as I said, you know, this is kind of... These settings are kind of reminiscent of the ancient world, you know, a tweaked version. It's not an exact copy of the ancient world, but tweaked, right, to be fantastical and have changes. So you can really, with this series of adventures, you can really have fun with that. Maybe you have some old images you've always found as inspiration. You can weave those in as, you know, side stories or introductory images. Or maybe you'll find a place, you know, especially if you get all 7 parts of this, that you can just work in some of those old images to show your players, or just other things. You know, I often think about how fun it would be to mix and match things from like Theros a series like this, other things that are out there, like there's a third-party book called Arcadia, right? You can mix all of these things together and create this sort of Greco-Roman world, and just make it your own. You can keep what you like from the books and lose what you don't. So that's the beauty of it, right? It's our own world, and we get to shape it how we like. So check it out. This is part 7. It's under Song of the Last Heroes in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Strange Life Forms of the Astral Sea, Rise of the Scro. So it says build your space orc empire with 11 new Scro stat blocks in this compendium. And it's from Spellfleet Games, 75 cents, and artist Matt Popovich, and it's 13 pages. It says, across the vast gulf of wild space, the Scro are coming. Take on the mechanical contraptions of the Scro machinist, or hire a Scro shipwright and voidwalker to fly and repair your spelljamming vessel. Charge headlong into battle against shadowy Scro necroshifters, combat-crazed Scro berserkers, or hovering Scro gravitic warriors. Take on the ghostly ancestral phantoms conjured by the Scro Whisperer, and finally go toe-to-toe with the colossal Scro Supreme Warlord himself. So you get 11 new stat blocks, reimagining the gray space orcs known as the Scro, with a blend of sci-fi and fantasy themes. They're ideal for encounters in the open Astral Sea in your Spelljammer campaign, or an extraordinary encounter in any 5th edition campaign. So yeah, they could arrive on Twirl or wherever, and you'd have to deal with them there. And I just think they're fun. I mean, look at this artwork. The artwork in all these books from Spellfleet Games is really cool. I think it's on par with what Wizards of the Coast does for its monster manuals. So you've got the Scro Berserker here, which is the CR4. You've got the Scro Gravitic Warrior, which is the CR10. And the Mind Weaver, which is a CR9. It says, so look at that artwork, so cool. It says, a Mind Weaver's eyes seem to glow with an eerie, otherworldly red light, reflecting the powerful psychic energy these mind mystics of the Scro command. Mind Weavers are often employed by their tribe as interrogators, diplomats, and infiltrators. While their abilities make them well suited to these roles, their true strength lies in the overwhelming chaos they can unleash on the battlefield by reaching into the minds of their enemies. The path of the Mind Weaver is a closely guarded secret within Scro society, and only those who have proven their loyalty and devotion to the tribe are permitted to learn its mysteries. It is believed that the Mind Weavers owe their psychic abilities to the influence of the Far Realm, a mysterious and distant plane that defies comprehension. This connection to the Far Realm is cultivated through secret rituals and the study of forbidden tomes, which grant Mind Weavers access to the eldritch energies that fuel their power. So that's really cool. So that's a different take on a Scro, right? Like you have the sort of normal Scro, which are space orcs, Klingon style stuff. Scro is orcs backwards, if you didn't know. And this particular Scro is very sort of psychic focused, and they've got some spell casting that they do. They've got an ability called Mind Drain, where they can target a creature it can see within 60 feet, and they have to make a saving throw or take psychic damage. And then they also get a reduced intelligence score, and then they've got a telepathic lash, a mind shield, so they get advantage on some saving throws when they have to make a wisdom, intelligence, or charisma saving throw. And then you've got the Gravitic Warrior up here. It says Gravitic Warriors are elite soldiers of the Scro military who master the art of manipulating gravity. They can cause the ground to ripple and heave, trapping enemies in place or hurling them through the air. Their power is also used defensively, enabling them to deflect projectiles and create barriers of crushing force. So that's cool, because they've got Gravity Punch, Gravity Crush, Gravity Well, Gravitic Deflection. It says when the Gravitic Warrior is hit by a ranged weapon attack, it can use its reaction to increase the gravity around it, imposing disadvantage on the attack roll. If the attack misses, the projectile is deflected and falls harmlessly to the ground. So that's cool. Got a way to deflect that stuff using gravity. Awesome. I mean, it just is so cool to have this many options. I mean, there's no reason to think if you encounter a Scro, they're all going to be the same, right? So you need other stat blocks, especially if you want to have multiple encounters in wild space with the Scro, or maybe there's a contingent that have landed on Toril or somewhere, and so you've got to deal with them. Maybe they come to Kren. Who knows? They could go anywhere. your homebrew world even. And for 75 cents to get this gorgeous artwork, 13 pages, full of stat blocks. I mean, there's a bunch of other bundles with other things from Matt Popovich and Spellfleet Games that you should check out as well. But in the meantime, look for this one in the video description links. It's under Strange Lifeforms of the Astral Sea. Give it a click. Next, we have Trials of Wit and Might, a complete compendium of skill challenges and collaborative storytelling. And it's from one of my personal favorite third-party publishers, Aaron Chronicles, authors Nikos Austas and George Sviffendorkis. And it is best copper seller already. So it's already sold 51 copies in its first week. It's got 9 ratings with an average of 5 stars. So that's huge. That's huge. And I always, like I said, I really like Aaron Chronicles books. They always do some really unique, interesting stuff. It's not run-of-the-mill stuff. It's always innovative. And the prices are always great. I mean, this is only $9.95 for the 75 pages. You're getting so much stuff. It's a comprehensive guide that introduces the concept of skill challenges to your games, allowing you to immerse yourselves in daring escapades, realistic survival scenarios, suspenseful missions, and thrilling social interactions. You get a whole new experience with collaborative storytelling with this. So it says, a simple and thorough introduction to the concept of skill challenges, heavily play-tested mechanics to run non-combat encounters and promote collaborative storytelling, action skill challenges to create action-packed scenes such as chasing after adversaries, escaping collapsing ruins, or even tavern brawls, exploration skill challenges to envision journeys through inhospitable environments, social skill challenges, variant skill challenges, 31 detailed archetypes of skill challenges along with advice on how to employ them, 465 descriptions. That's huge. Like, sometimes you as a DM have to sort of explain what happened, and you just maybe don't have the most creative thoughts on what they did with their skill check or whatever, right? And so this book is going to fill in those blanks for you. And look at all the beautiful artwork throughout, as well as a fun layout. So let's look inside. So you can see it goes into the rules of a skill challenge, then it's broken into action, exploration, social, variant, and then sort of epilogue, which is cool. And like I said, tons of really cool artwork. Talks about how to use it. It says tabletop role-playing games are one of the very few mediums that allow for multiple individuals to work together in creating an impactful, cohesive narrative. While it can be utilized to astonishing results, sadly this form of collaborative storytelling is often sidelined in favor of a story told solely by the DM or the strict retelling of an already established adventure book. While easier to run, such a story is usually lesser than one created by every participant around the table. When everyone can contribute their own ideas, plot points, resolutions, and even twists, the experience produced can be profoundly unique and even magical. A remarkable event sired in unison by the players, which cannot be reproduced by anyone else. So true. It's nice to not feel railroaded, and that you can just create with everybody else. I mean, even if you're not super creative, having a couple moments where you get to do something that was your own invention is going to be cool. So it talks about the rules of a skill challenge, and then goes into difficulty. It says the difficulty of a skill challenge is dependent on 2 factors: the level of predicament it represents and the difficulty check of the ability checks required in order to succeed in it. And so it gives you some ideas on how those might be and how many successes, failures you can have. So it says depending on his predicament, the group must succeed on a total of 3 to 7 ability checks before they fail 3 times. So yeah, you're tracking successes and failures. While failure should be described as a hindrance, the character should be allowed to fail forward rather than having their efforts completely dismissed. After all, a party that has failed once or twice still has a chance to succeed in the overall purpose of the challenge before they fail 3 times. Depending on the situation and the specifics of a skill challenge, each failure may result in a setback or some other penalty, as explained later during this chapter. It is important to note that players do not necessarily have to know the level of the predicament they are in. So that's so true. They don't need to know exactly how many successes they need. And then the failures, you're tracking to see how many they have. And then here's the DC list for how, based on difficulty. and then it talks about, you know, repetition. But I've looked at this whole book, and it is so good. I mean, there's the descriptions of the stuff that goes on, like when you complete one of these challenges, and the way, you know, the way it's described of what you did or whatever is just, it's just so well written, and you're gonna have so much fun being able to just read some of this or tweak it and, you know, paraphrase it into your own words, whatever you want to do. But I mean, there's just so many different options too. It says the many solutions skill challenges offer can make them tempting to use again and again. At the same time, they encompass scenes that may occur often during a campaign, making their reuse compelling. However, as a story, story would not be peppered with the same encounter more than 1 or 2 times. So too, it is unwise to repeat the same challenge, especially within a short time frame. If the DM wishes to incorporate a skill challenge that they have already used before, they should make sure that the situation has changed in some significant way and the challenge presented is unique. Yeah, so it's tempting when you get such a great book as this to just want to like do 40 of these in a row, right? But you know, then that's going to get, it's going to be the same problem you had before, which is everything is the same, right? So mix it up, use these strategically. Maybe you have 2, maybe you have 1 per session, maybe you have 1 at the beginning and 1 later in the middle, you know, however you want to do it, but don't run it into the ground to where you can't do it in the future. But you can see, like, okay, action challenges, you got urban chases, wilderness chases, escaping a collapsing ruin, escaping a sinking ship, a hunt, an infiltration, a prison break, a tavern brawl, weathering a storm. And that's just the action. Then you got exploration, where you're escorting a caravan, you're journeying over land, you've got a sea voyage, an underground delve. And the social challenges, garnering favor with the common folk, nobility, outlaws, gathering information, haggling, interrogation, parlaying. And then you got things like construction, crafting, magical ritual, raising an army, researching, surgery. I mean, these are things that a lot of times get skipped over, right? Because the DM's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So you make a roll, and then, you know, if it's a good number, we'll just say you did it. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually make it the crux of the story, and as they're doing their ability checks, you can say, well, tell me what your character's doing. What is it that they're trying to do to get through this tavern brawl or this sinking floating ship? Like, are they grasping at the sides of the ship trying to hang on? Are they looking for a rope that's floating in the water? Like, what is it? You know, and then sort of collaboratively arriving at a success or failure, right? So fun. And every book from Aaron Chronicles is a winner. I love them all. So you got to get this one. It's in the links below under Trials of Wit and Might. Give it a click. Now we come to that part of our program where we just shout out some additional titles that were released this week. We don't have time to go into all of them, unfortunately, so we're just going to give you a little taste of them. They are linked in the video description, so you can click and learn more about them as well. The first one is 100+ quests in Raven's Rest. It's filled with hooks and reference material for you to create your own quests in your adventure. It's from OK Media, $9.99 for 45 pages. Then we've got Cathedral of the Undying, which is for Dungeon Crawl Classics or 3.5 edition. It's 20 pages and it is $7.99 on sale, so check that out. We've got Coven of the Dragon Marked by Mark Spezzano, and it's for Eberron, and it's 68 pages, and it's an adventure for levels 3 to 5. Then we've got The Dragon's Hoard, which is a zine that contains 20 new magic items, 12 spells, 4 new special materials options, and 4 monsters. And it is $5.99 for 26 pages for 5th edition. Then we've got Extreme Weather Conditions, which is 28 pages, and it is $2.18, and it's all about that weather stuff happening. It gives you options to help you manage weather in your campaign. Then we got 5th edition fantasy, a level 1 adventure module called Ambush at Dragon's Cove, and it is free, 14 pages from Goodman Games, right here on DriveThruRPG. Gotta love free. That's the suggested price. Certainly you can pay something to support the creators as well. Then we've got 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙬𝙬 Explorer's Journal, Volume 1 from MT Black. It's 38 pages. It is also free. So another good one to grab. No excuse not to grab a free book. So it is here under 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙬 Explorer's Journal. They've got subclasses, treasures, more about the setting of 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬 in there. So fun stuff. Then we've got Orson's Manual of Martial Mastery. It's a suggested price of $1 for 24 pages, and it's focused on combat options, key abilities, maneuvers, all sorts of martial stuff. So you want to check that out. Then we've got Recharge Journeys through the Radiant Citadel. So it's an ongoing series that adds recharge abilities to monsters referenced in particular books. It's $1.95, 12 pages, and as I said, it's going to give you lots of options to expand your monsters for Journeys through the Radiant Citadel. Then we've got Urban Locale, issue 8, and it's focused on a jeweler's. This is system neutral, and it gives you location information, reference. Looking through it earlier, it's just a really cool way to bring a jeweler's to life, and this is part of a series. So if you want to find out about other locations in urban locales, this is going to be a really cool place to do it, because it's some of these kinds of shops are just not that detailed, so having books like this is great. Next we have the Weathermay Foxgrove Twins Guide to Forbidden Tomes. So you're going to get some dark tomes of forbidden knowledge from the lands of the mist. So Ravenloft stuff, $2.99 from Igor Cuminali, and 20 pages, and it's got a lot of Ravenloft goodies in it for you. Then we've got Winds Howling, which is a suggested price of $1, and it is an adventure for level 8, 22 pages. And then we have the Zombie Crypt, which is $9.99. It's an adventure for levels 2 to 4, and it's 75 pages, so quite a few pages devoted to this adventure. So good stuff. That's all the shout-outs for this week. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment for the algorithm, and share the video out there on your social media with your friends so we can get more eyeballs on all these awesome titles that are coming out, so we can help uplift everyone in the industry, keep the industry strong and going, so we can keep enjoying such fun material. There's all those links in the video description that you can click to support these titles, and if you purchase anything after you click one of those links, it's going to help support the channel with a small affiliate fee. So if you could visit one of our videos and click one of our links, or even bookmark one of our links before you do your shopping, that really helps us a lot, because we do get that affiliate fee from any purchase. So much appreciated. And if you really want to help, we also have 7 books we've released. Those are listed in the video description, or you can find out about them at splinterverse.com. And we're working on a big 2-book Kickstarter that's going to happen later this year. It's just something else. I can't even tell you how excited I am for this to finally happen. It's been over a year in the making in terms of my writing on it and the things that I've been doing with it and the artwork being created. I mean, this is such a massive book that I started on it long ago, and it's finally coming to fruition later this year, and I just simply cannot wait for you to see what it's all about. So make sure you're following us everywhere at Splinterverse, so you get the heads up when we create our launch page for you to follow and all that good stuff. And if you're a creator watching, my advice this week is kind of twofold. One is make sure again, this is really for creators that want to have either a side business or a full-time business doing this. Make sure that you're networking with other creators, get to know them, be supportive. Don't just talk to them about your stuff. Make sure you're finding out about them and what their struggles are in the industry, and just really network and help lift each other up. And then just generally support creators, whether it's retweeting their things, purchasing their books, leaving a review. The other part, I said this was twofold, is be the customer you want, right? Lead by example. Get out there, purchase a book, leave a review, contact the creator, offer your support, form bonds and networks and things if you're going to do this. Now, you got to balance it. You can't be doing that all day and not working on your projects, right? But maybe you do one thing a day. Maybe you retweet one thing a day, or you, take a look at a book. Also, you should be looking at other books, see what other people are doing, get a feel. This video series is a good way to do that. Watching this and seeing what's coming out, what people are releasing. See what's getting a medal, what's selling really well. Learn, read articles, and just try to improve that sort of foundation underneath the creativity. We can be creative all day long as creators, but you really have to nurture that business side as well if you really want to be successful in this. So that's my advice for you this week, and I know you can do it. And until next time, happy adventuring.